to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. First up, Defense Secretary Gilbert Teodoro sounds the alarm. The Philippines military needs to modernize quickly. According to the Defense Secretary, he says it's crucial to address the growing threats to a free and open Asia-Pacific. The United States is raising concerns about how Israel is using American-made weapons in the Gaza conflict, particularly around the city of Rafah, where many displaced civilians are sheltering. And renewed fighting in Ukraine, Russia has launched a major ground assault in Ukraine's Kharkiv region, marking their most significant land offensive there since the war began. And finally, some good news. Northern Lights extravaganza, a powerful solar storm, is creating a spectacular light show across the night sky. And this week's geomagnetic storm is the strongest in over 2 decades, offering sky watchers a rare chance to see the northern lights from further south than usual. Philippine Defense Secretary Gilbert Teodoro emphasized the urgent need for the country's military to adapt swiftly in the face of escalating threats to a free and open Asia-Pacific region. Speaking at the conclusion of the annual exercises with the U.S., the Balikatan, Teodoro underscored the importance of focusing on enhancing military capabilities.
Exercises such as this should be continued because for us men who are consigned to the kitchen at home, we know the worst thing in a kitchen is a dull knife. And a good chef hones the knife every day. Philippines, that we will be increasing the pressure continuously for them to evolve as soon as possible into a multi-threat, multi-theater operating armed force.
The joint exercises involved approximately 11,000 American, 5,000 Filipino, and 100 Australian troops concentrated in strategic areas near potential flashpoints such as the South China Sea and Taiwan. These exercises aim to bolster warfighting readiness for the allies.
As we have heard both President Marcos and President Biden say, national security and economic prosperity are inextricably linked. And nowhere is this more apparent than in the vitally important Indo-Pacific region. Exercise Balikatan stands as proof of our collective commitment to enhancing interoperability in support of long-term prosperity.
Recent tensions in the South China Sea, marked by confrontations between Chinese and Filipino vessels, underscore the gravity of the situation. Manila's calls for the expulsion of the Chinese embassy staff accused of interference further highlight the diplomatic strain between the two nations. Lieutenant General Michael Sederholm, commander of the U.S. 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, emphasized the significance of the joint exercises in reinforcing the commitment to a free and open Pacific.
And that the Mutual Defense Treaty between the United States and the Republic of the Philippines, signed on August 30th, 1951, details our, quote, desire to live in peace with all peoples and all governments, and to strengthen the fabric of peace in the Pacific area.
The disputed Second Thomas Shoal remains a focal point, with Filipino troops stationed on a grounded naval ship facing off against Chinese patrols. Amidst escalating tensions, both sides remain entrenched in their respective positions, raising concerns about the potential for further escalation in the region.
The Mutual Defense Treaty goes on to state our desire to declare publicly and formally our sense of unity and our common determination to defend ourselves against external armed attack, so that no potential aggressor could be under the illusion that either of us stands alone in the Pacific area.
Now, turning our attention to the South China Sea, a major rift has erupted, escalating tensions in this volatile region amidst the numerous disputes in the area. And one particular standoff between the Philippines and China has taken a significant turn. China has asserted that it struck a clandestine agreement with the Philippines, purportedly diluting Manila's territorial claims in the disputed waters.
I would reiterate the basic facts. First, at the end of 2021, through close communication and coordination between China and the Philippines, we reached the gentleman's agreement, and the administration of Philippines will implement the gentleman's agreement till the February of 2023. In September of 2023, China invited the special representative on China of Philippine president to negotiate in this regard, and the two sides has reached an internal memorandum on Yunaijiao and received the consent of leadership of Philippines. Third, that the new model was abandoned by the Philippines in the 2nd of February. The remarks made by the Philippines cannot deny the gentleman's agreements reached between China and the Philippines.
However, Manila denies the existence of any such agreement and refutes China's allegations.
Umano, may pahayag ang Chinese Embassy sa Pilipinas na merong punong alleged recording sa isang kawani ng Armed Forces of the Philippines, the authenticity of which I doubt, given the propensity of the Chinese government to engage in malign information activities. Ngayon, ito ang dapat natin tutukan at dapat intindihin na ating mga kababayan. Kung itong statement ay totoong galing sa Chinese Embassy na sila ay nag-recording ng sino man sa Pilipinas, sila ay umaamin na lumabag sila sa batas ng Republika ng Pilipinas, particularly the anti-wiretapping law. At sila ay gumawa, kung totoo man ito, ng bagay na labag sa international relations at labag sa batas. Dahil hindi sila nakipag-ugnayan sa Department of Foreign Affairs at sila'y umoperate na pailalim kung totoo ito. Dahil ito ay gawain di umano ng Chinese Embassy mismo na paglalabag sa batas ng Republika ng Pilipinas, dapat alamin kung sino ang responsable dito at alisin sa Republika ng Pilipinas. Sa ganang amin, kami ay magpapatatag ng aming operational security measures.
Amidst this diplomatic standoff, China's claims are met with skepticism as doubts linger regarding the authenticity of the alleged phone conversation and the selective release of information by Chinese authorities.
Given the fact na meron na talagang disinformation, malign influence, at hindi kanais-nais na mga gawain ang mga ahente ng ibang gobyerno, kami ay gagawa ng kaukulang mga hakbang upang maproteksyonan ang Department of National Defense, ang Armed Forces of the Philippines, at ang ating mga kababayan. Uulitin ko ang statement ng Department of Foreign Affairs.
Manila contends that only the President holds the authority to formalize international agreements.
Tanging presidente lamang ang pwedeng pumasok sa anumang kasunduan hinggil sa West Philippine Sea o anumang international na bagay through the Department of Foreign Affairs. Walang binigay na pahintulot ang presidente o sino mang opisyal ng kabinete hinggil dito. Kaya mali ang pagtatahol ng mga opisyal di umano ng Chinese Embassy dito.
Military activity near Taiwan has spiked ahead of the island's presidential inauguration. Now, dozens of Chinese warplanes and ships were detected around Taiwan in the past 24 hours, according to Taiwanese officials. Now, this heightened presence comes just a day after a U.S. warship sailed through the Taiwan Strait. China claims Taiwan as its territory and strongly opposes such actions. Taiwan's Coast Guard also reported a separate incident near the island of Kinmen. Several Chinese maritime and fishery vessels entered restricted waters, raising concerns about safety and regional stability. Now, these developments follow deadly fishing incidents earlier this year. China has stepped up patrols near Kinmen since then, further straining relations. Taiwan's new president, Lai Ching-te, is set to be inaugurated in less than 2 weeks. He, like his predecessor, rejects China's claim on Taiwan. The situation in the Taiwan Strait remains a flashpoint, and these recent events raise concerns about a potential escalation. A massive fire ripped through an industrial park in eastern Thailand, leaving one person dead and hundreds evacuated. The blaze erupted on Thursday morning at a gas storage facility in Rayong province. Now, thick black smoke billowed into the sky as flames engulfed a storage tank. 4 people were injured, with one person tragically succumbing to their injuries. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. Authorities evacuated roughly 200 people from the surrounding area. Firefighters from nearby provinces battled the blaze using seawater and traditional firefighting equipment. Now, this incident comes amid a rise in reported fires across Thailand. The scorching heat wave gripping Southeast Asia is a possible contributing factor. However, lax safety regulations have long been a concern in Thailand's industrial sector. In a joint operation, Thai police have arrested a wanted American citizen, Selva Delano Mudaliar, 37, and he was apprehended in Bangkok on Friday. Mudaliar is accused of horrific crimes in the U.S. He was sentenced to at least 25 years in prison for kidnapping, sex trafficking, and other offenses. However, he fled the country while on parole. Thai authorities acted swiftly upon a request from the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Mudaliar is now facing extradition back to the U.S. Now, concerns were raised that Mudaliar might continue his violent acts in Thailand, and Thai police expressed relief at the successful arrest, which came just 1 week after the FBI's request. And tonight, the United States criticized Israel for how it's using weapons from America during the Gaza conflict. And they're concerned because Israel has been stepping up its actions around the city of Rafah, where lots of people who lost their homes are living. In a report out Friday, the U.S. said it seems like Israel might be using these weapons in ways that aren't okay under international rules. But they didn't stop sending weapons just yet. And things got tense between the U.S. and Israel earlier this week when President Joe Biden said they would stop sending some weapons if Israel went ahead with a big attack on Rafah, which Israel's leader Benjamin Netanyahu talked about doing. The U.S. has warned Israel about the bad reputation it could get if it attacks a city where so many innocent people are.
That there is no doubt that they understood what our policy was should they launch a Rafah operation, or what our policy would be, I should say.
The head of the UN also warned that Gaza could face a huge disaster if Israel starts a big ground attack in Rafah.
A massive ground attack in Rafah would lead to an epic humanitarian disaster and pull the plug on our efforts to support people as famine looms.
Over 14,000 children have reportedly been killed already in this conflict. A ground offensive in Rafah will undoubtedly result in this number increasing dramatically.
Even though Israel's leader said they're ready to fight alone, the U.S. doesn't want them to do anything big in Rafah.
Major military operation in Rafah would further weaken Israel's standing in the world, would further create distance from its partners in the region, who actually share Israel's goal of seeing Hamas defeated and want to see Hamas replaced with a different governance structure in Gaza.
The White House said they're watching the situation closely, but they don't think Israel has launched a big ground attack yet. Earlier this week, Israeli soldiers took control of parts of Rafah, including a border crossing with Egypt, but they haven't gone into the main part of the city yet. There were reports of more attacks in Gaza on Saturday after artillery strikes in Rafah the day before. Now, Ukraine is facing a renewed Russian ground assault in the Kharkiv region, and this surprise attack marks Russia's largest land operation in the area since the war began. Fierce fighting is underway as Ukrainian forces scramble to defend the region. Civilian evacuations are underway as both sides exchange heavy fire. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging the West for more military aid. He says current support, while appreciated, isn't enough to completely halt the Russian advance.
Важливо, щоб партнери підтримували наших воїнів і українську стійкість вчасним постачанням. Дійсно вчасним. Пакет, який дійсно допомагає, це привезена в Україну зброя, а не лише оголошення пакету. Я дякую кожному лідеру, які сприймають ситуацію, сприймають її саме так.
The European Union is calling for increased support for Ukraine. European Parliament President Roberta Metsola stressed the urgent need for equipment and air defense systems.
We are also painfully aware that Ukraine urgently needs more equipment and air defense systems to defend itself against the aggressor. We Europeans need to deliver. We need to take responsibility. We need to intensify our support and deliver on our financial support.
The United States has pledged an additional $400 million in military aid. Russia aims to establish a buffer zone along the Ukrainian border. They claim to have captured villages in the region in recent days. President Putin has previously spoken of creating a sanitary zone in Ukrainian territory. And this move is seen as a response to Ukrainian shelling of border towns in Russia. And breaking news from the Rome Open, Novak Djokovic experienced a moment of agony and pain after being struck with a hard plastic water bottle while leaving the court following his victory over France's Corentin Moutet. Despite the incident, Djokovic secured his spot in the third round with a 6-3, 6-1 win on Friday. The world number one was signing autographs for fans when the bottle hit him on the back of the head, leaving him crouched on the ground in pain. Security staff escorted him from the arena, shielding the 24-time Grand Slam winner as he exited the Foro Italico's center court. A video of the incident circulated by Italian media did not clarify whether the bottle was deliberately launched or accidentally fell onto Djokovic's head from the stands. He is set to face Chile's Alejandro Tabilo next as he gears up for the French Open. Despite turning 34 later this month, Djokovic remains a formidable force, aiming to add his impressive list of titles at the Foro Italico, where only Rafael Nadal has claimed more victories with 10. With several big names sidelined due to injury, Djokovic sees an opportunity to clinch his record-extending 41st Masters 1,000 crown in Rome as the tournament unfolds until May 19. In a significant update on the climate crisis, Venezuela, situated in South America, has reached a disheartening milestone. Once boasting 6 glaciers, the country has now likely become the first in modern history to lose all of its glacial formations. Scientists have reclassified Venezuela's last remaining glacier as an ice field, marking a sobering indication of the impact of climate change on our planet. Thomas I. Likeness reports.
This is what's left, a patch of ice on a mountainous rock. Climate change is blamed for the disappearance of the glaciers. By 2011, rising temperatures in the Andes Mountains melted almost all of the country's glaciers. 5 of them disappeared, leaving only La Corona. Now, just 4 years ago, scientists figured La Corona would last for a couple more decades. But it has shrunk so much now that scientists have reclassified it as an ice field. In a last-ditch attempt to save it, the Venezuelan government last December proposed covering La Corona with geothermal blankets to stop or reverse the melting. University professor Rafael Cuevas scoffed at the idea. He opposes it, saying no environmental impact study has been done. Cuevas says the government plan to cover the ice with a plastic coating could have grave implications for the fragile ecosystem in the Andes. Forest engineer Susana Rodriguez says the disappearance of Venezuela's glaciers is heartbreaking. She says in less than 100 years, more than 400 hectares of glacier have been lost. Only 2 hectares remain, and La Corona, she says, has really become just a small piece of ice. Glacier loss could have a devastating impact on mountain ecosystems. In Venezuela, it's too early to tell whether plants and animals can adapt to the situation. And around the world, several other countries are worried about the ice caps of their mountains shrinking. Another reminder of the impact of climate change. Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News, we live in extraordinary times.
Devastating floods in southern Brazil are showing no signs of letting up. Just as floodwaters began to recede, heavy rains lashed down again on Friday, offering little relief to the hundreds of thousands left homeless. The state of Rio Grande do Sul is bracing for a brutal weekend. Nearly 2 million people have been impacted by the deluge, with the death toll reaching 126 and injuries surpassing 750. Tragically, 141 people remain missing.
Mas eles têm medo do roubo, não adianta, é a única coisa que eles têm, né? O pessoal está roubando muito na noite, madrugada. Tem muita polícia agora, durante o dia. Agora, não sei como é que é de noite, porque eu não me arrisco vir à noite. Né?
The state capital, Porto Alegre, attempted to return to normalcy on Friday, but those hopes were dashed as the skies opened up once more. Forecasters warn of intense rainfall, strong winds and even hail for the coming days, and some areas could see up to 8 inches of rain by Monday. The situation for those displaced is dire. The number of people forced to evacuate nearly doubled in just 24 hours, reaching over 411,000. And many are now crammed into shelters, facing shortages of clean drinking water. Experts are blaming this disaster on a double whammy of El Niño and climate change. The World Meteorological Organization warns that even when El Niño subsides, the long-term effects of climate change will continue to make extreme weather events more common.
It's a double whammy. It's a double whammy of El Niño and plus climate change. And that's what we're seeing in Brazil right now. Even when El Niño fades, which it will do, the long-term effects of climate change are with us. Every degree of, or every fraction of a degree in temperature increase means that our weather will become more extreme. Warmer atmosphere holds more moisture, so that's why we are seeing much more, many more extreme rainfall events. Our weather is on steroids, and until we find a cure for it, or until we, stop consuming the greenhouse gases which are driving this extreme weather, we're going to see more floods. We're going to see more extreme floods. We're going to see more intense drought. We're going to see more intense heat waves, and it's something that WMO and Celeste Saulo, we're saying it on a daily basis. We really do need climate action, and we need it urgently. And just to underline my point, today on our website, we've just posted a news story to say that April globally was the hottest April on record. Again, it's we seem to be in a phase of another month, another record. So we've now had 11 months in a row where it was the hottest month on record. So it was the hottest April on record, it was the hottest March, hottest February, hottest January, etc., etc. For 13 months, sea surface temperatures have been record highs. So even longer than the land, the average global surface temperature. That is combination of El Niño, but it's also climate change. It's a very, very strong climate change signal. So,
Lights up in the sky, solar storm puts on a show with potential disruptions. Have you ever dreamt of seeing the northern lights dancing in your own backyard? Well, buckle up because a powerful solar storm is making that dream a reality for some. Now, this week, Earth is being pummeled by a series of solar blasts, the first of which arrived on Friday. It's the strongest geomagnetic storm in over 20 years, and the dazzling auroras it's causing have people across the globe glued to the night sky. Now think vibrant greens and pinks dancing across the horizon, a celestial light show unlike any other. Photos are flooding social media with folks in places as far apart as Tasmania and Britain capturing the spectacle. But this storm isn't just about pretty lights. These solar outbursts can disrupt satellites and power grids. And thankfully, authorities are on high alert, notifying airlines and grid operators to take precautions. The good news, you might still be able to catch the light show. Experts are saying the best viewing will be at higher latitudes, but depending on the storm's strength. It could be visible further south. So grab your phone, even if you can't see the lights with your naked eye. Newer cameras can pick them up and head outside tonight. Now, this is just the beginning, though, as more solar blasts are expected in the coming days. While the storm might cause some hiccups here on Earth, the real victims could be, you know what, pigeons. Apparently, their internal compasses get messed up by these magnetic fluctuations. So keep your eyes peeled for the aurora borealis. Have some backup plans in case of power outages. And maybe give your local pigeons some extra love. They're going through a tough time. As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.